Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Aviation Cadet. This is Sabir Shah, and as the NTSB preliminary report has been out about the mid-air collision over Dallas, I have my own point of view. So this report, when it came out, actually it left a lot more questions than the answers. So preliminary reports are normally about giving answers to the initial questions, but this has raised a lot of questions, so I'm going to talk about those ones in this video. And I'm going to assert my point of view that this whole incident, this mishap, could have been avoided. But yeah, so let me break it down to a few things. If you see the initial videos that were released on YouTube and everywhere of the incident, they were kind of projecting, trying to give a kind of perception that P63 was the culprit and that got crashed into B17. So now, after the preliminary report, now the projection has been changed. Now the air boss is the villain. Later I will share my opinion on the wordings used and stuff like that. So the blame is shifting. We're still not coming to the correct course. The questions I've raised in my previous videos, you can see on my channel. None of the people I know of have raised those concerns. I would say them again. The B-17 pilot need to know about what he was doing, what he was flying at that time. So this report even gave out more questions than the answers. I get my inspiration from Blanco Lario channel, and he comes up with all kinds of reports and everything and describes them beautifully. I mean, he's the god of aviation reports, I would say that. So, too much on his plate. But I mean, again, I saw his first video on the incident, and he mentioned that this was the P63's, could be P63's problem. He didn't mean it. Whatever was shown to him, of course he has to report that. So, and then under his comment sections, I've seen a lot of things. People started saying, okay, P63 pilot, he was in the way, sort of things. Well, I just found out, as I said, that the guy has a lot on his plate, so he can't always see, because look at his videos. I mean, every single day he is posting a video about something happening around in the aviation world, which is really appreciable. So for this, because I was a fighter pilot, and I'm very concerned when people blame fighter pilots for nothing, or when I think, of course. So there were a few misdeclarations or innocent mistakes, so I will point them out. So Blanco Lario, in his first video, he was not at he just a 4-minute video, and he just talked about the incident. It's a sad incident, no one can say, because these people commemorate the World War II situation, and it's a big loss for the aviation, for the aviators. But in your second video, there was one mistake I found. Not mistake, again, I'm saying the person has a lot of things on his plate. The thing was, he mentioned a wrong. Now, it's because of the ADSB website, because of that one. When he said that when P63 moved in, it was at about 219 knots or 220 knots, and B17 was at 143 knots. So that's 60 knots higher than B17. So that's like huge impact. So under the comment section, everyone will say, oh, rammed into B17. But that was not the case. The ADSB website has a little bit of problem. It shows the data, not the current data is shown. You can see in the side, on the side. So you have to really zoom it up to get to the right data, to get to the that timeline data. If you don't zoom it out, it's going to show you some other leg being flown. So that's what happened to Blanco Lario. When he mentioned that it was at 143 knots, it was not at 143. It was at 165 knots. But the perception was already built. Again, innocently. It was not on purpose. I'm sure. But that guy is, like as I said, god of aviation. So, aviation reports. Now, when the preliminary report came out of the NTSB, he also made another video about 11 minutes, and in that video, the air boss is being, the perception which goes to the public, at least if I hear that video, if I listen to that video, to that report, straight away I would go to start blaming air boss. The aviation hazards are not to blame anyone. The aviation hazards are to make corrections so that we shouldn't have these mistakes, these mishaps in the future, and we should avoid them. And then we see on the circumstances how this thing happened in the first place. So the first set of videos made the perception that P63 was involved. Now the second wave which came in is that the air boss, he is involved somehow. And I saw some comments, even he pinned one of the comments that he was a new guy, it was his first day. So let me talk about that in details. See, Blanco Lario explained very well what an echelon formation is. It's side by side, either side of the aircraft, and what's the trail formation. The trail formation is always the lead aircraft is on top of you, and you are in the formation behind it is always under it. But by seeing ADSB data, nowhere, never in the 9 minutes of the flight, P63 was lower than P51, at least the second one. The lead we don't know. So this is P51. P63 was always this high, 100 feet high, always 100 feet high, and 2 seconds behind wherever they touched the ground references. 2 seconds slower and 100 feet higher throughout, from takeoff while joining over the runway. They always had a difference of 100 feet. What kind of formation is that? Everyone knows now that P63 cockpit visibility is little. So you can't be on top of an airplane in echelon or in a trailing formation, and while your cockpit visibility is lower, you can never see that, so you can't keep that formation. So that's the question, where was the lead aircraft, the first P51? Because I could give it a benefit of doubt that maybe the lead was at 1500 feet, let's say, and the second information was at 1300 feet, and the third information was at 1400 feet. So now the reference point for this third aircraft is the lead, which is at 1500. So that makes sense. But I've never seen this kind of formation. Never done it. And if you go through the basics of the formations, you would never find that one. So that was so never ever on that circuit or loop which they flew, they were on the same heights. P63 was always higher than P51. The only time they were on the same level was when they were flying the last leg, and they were directed by the air boss to fly southwest, and 1600 feet they maintained it for 8 seconds only, and then they broke off. So if they were in an echelon formation at that time, and they broke off and they came into a trailing formation, which means that the lead is going to be on top, and the one in the formation is going to be at the bottom, because that's how you make the reference with the aircraft. But in this case, the lead, after breaking off, like let's say echelon formation, what we do when you're in echelon formation, which is side by side, what you do is you dip your wing down, you get your power back, and you trail behind the aircraft and come under it, and then you get your reference points, whatever the points are, depending on the aircrafts. So you are right behind that airplane, the lead formation, and then you fly. But in this case, nowhere. If you look at the data, P51 was always on the left side, P63 was always on the right side. 6 seconds of lag, 6 seconds of difference, wherever on the ground marks on this Kinwood Road or the next road, 6 seconds behind, and P63 was at least 150 feet above P51. And because of the cockpit visibility, it cannot maintain the formation. So that's a big question. No idea how this was in a trailing formation. Now, the second thing which I found out in this preliminary report, that was a mistake, that was a fault, that this is the runway, and then laterally 500 feet was assigned for the fighters, 1,000 feet was assigned for the bomber, B17. And if you look at the circuits, as you can see right next to me, that nowhere, never, the B17 followed this 1,000 feet away from runway path. It was always right next to the runway, always. It flew 4 times, but every time it was closer to the runway. While the P51 and P63, those 3 aircraft formation, they did that. They did fly once they were in the right loop, right circuit. When they came back, they were at least 1,000 feet away from the runway, and they went into the second loop, which was the fatal one, where the crash happened. And again, once the air boss has clearly said that the fighters have to overtake the bombers need to slow down. If they need to slow down, why in previous leg, this guy, which Blanco Lario also reported, the 143 knots, that was from the previous leg. Same circuit, left-hand circuit, same circuit, and getting parallel to runway 330 or runway 33. So it flew at 143 knots. It maintained that one. When it came closer to the runway, the second leg, left-hand pattern circling, it went up to 150 knots. That's the maximum. But it maintained 136, 140, 136, 140. But in the last leg, it went up to 165 knots. And it was off course. In my previous videos, you can see that one. So again, this report doesn't say anything. There's another blunder. It says that the debris, when it fell, it was facing 324 magnetic north. Now that's surprising for me. So that's my 2 cents, and hopefully we can find the true answers to all the questions I raised just now. See you next time.